What's up guys, I'm Ethan, your real life English fluency coach, and I have a question. Why is it that so many English as a foreign language speakers feel the need to apologize when they speak English? Or as I've seen countless times on the internet and even in the comments on our channel when they're writing. Now, this "sorry for my English" has become kind of a phenomenon, so much so that it's even become a meme on the internet, and Urban Dictionary even has an entry on the subject. For many people, this has just become something customary that you say when you meet someone new. People will say something like, "Hi, nice to meet you. My name is such and such, and I'm from such and such. Sorry, my English is not so good." This is one of my biggest pet peeves. You should not do this. And in this video, we're going to look at why people tend to apologize for their English, what you can do to break this bad habit, and most importantly, how you can become a confident English speaker. So if you watch until the end, you're going to learn all about foreign language anxiety, why confidence beats grammar, what's the difference between good perfectionism and bad perfectionism, and finally, how to make the most out of your mistakes. But quickly, before we get started, I want to let you know that if you are new here, every single week we make videos just like this one to help you to understand fast-speaking English, to be understood by anyone, and to connect to the world. Just like our friend Nicholas, who says that for him, our channel is the best one on YouTube. So join us and take your English to the next level. It's really simple. Just hit that subscribe button and the bell down below, and you won't miss a single one of our new lessons. Now let's jump into today's lesson. Now there's a specific type of anxiety linked to speaking a foreign language, so much so that they've actually come up with a name for this. It's called xenoglossophobia. Now try saying that 3 times fast. Now, foreign language anxiety, or xenoglossophobia, is defined as the feeling of unease, worry, nervousness, and apprehension experienced in learning or using a second or foreign language. Now, this is actually the subject of several different academic research studies. Now, in my opinion, when you're speaking your native language, you probably feel pretty confident, right? You and the person that you're speaking to are on an equal playing field. This means that both of you have kind of the same knowledge that you're bringing to the table, so you don't really feel like that person has some sort of advantage over you. Now, probably as opposed to when you speak English, you're not constantly monitoring what you're saying when you're speaking your native language. You probably don't even think about it most of the time. But when you speak English, you might experience self-doubt, frustration, and self-consciousness, especially when the person you're talking to is a native speaker or a more experienced learner. So this could be what in psychology is referred to as fear of negative evaluation. So when you're apologizing for your English, basically it's probably because you think that you're not making a good impression on that other person. So you preemptively apologize in hopes of making a better impression. But the problem here is that it probably will have the opposite effect. Just think about it. You're talking to someone, they don't know you at all, and basically the first thing out of your mouth is, "Sorry for my bad English." So what is that person going to think? They're going to think that they have to expect you to make a lot of mistakes. They have to expect that they won't understand you. However, if you don't say anything, then they might not even notice your mistakes as much as you are. I think you'll find that most people are pretty friendly and they want to help you to be understood and to communicate yourself. Now, for most learners, grammar is actually associated with performance anxiety, basically meaning that you're afraid of making mistakes. And another really big source of this anxiety is pronunciation. But the important thing to keep in mind is that confidence beats grammar or pronunciation every time. So you know you're not going to be perfect when you have that conversation in English. You're going to make mistakes. So instead of focusing on apologizing for your English and trying to be perfect, why don't you instead put that focus on actually trying to be more confident? Now you do this by being present and in the moment, by flowing naturally with the conversation, and of course by practice, practice, practice. Think about it. If you play any sport, you're not going to go out to the big competition without having done some practice, some training first, right? Well, it's the same with your English. You should be doing some different training before you actually are going out and having that conversation, which for you really is like that big competition or running that marathon maybe. So you could do this, for example, by while you're home alone, you could stand in front of the mirror, you could record yourself and listen back and try to catch your own mistakes and work on ironing those out, work on correcting those. Something else you could do is if you're alone again, maybe driving in your car on your way to work, You could talk with yourself about some sorts of different subjects. You can pick a different topic every day, for example. And what this is going to do is that when you actually get to the moment where you're having to perform, where you have to have that conversation, you'll already feel pretty comfortable talking about a variety of different subjects in English. If you feel comfortable speaking English despite making mistakes, then you're going to have more and better conversations in English than if you're stressed. And obviously, the person that you're speaking to is going to feel a whole lot more comfortable too. And all of this practice, obviously, is how you're going to become a better speaker so that you're making less of those mistakes. Now again, when you're home, this is the perfect opportunity for you to study grammar, to study pronunciation, and to really focus on getting rid of those mistakes that you might be making a lot. But the moment is not when you're out there at a bar or over Skype having conversation with a native speaker or with another learner and you're practicing. That's when you're actually putting into practice everything that you've done at home, all that work that you've done beforehand. But don't fall into this trap that so many people fall into of thinking that they need to study and study and study before they can actually go out there and have a conversation. Really, ideally, you should start speaking from day one. But I know if you're watching this and you're actually understanding what I'm saying, that's not going to be possible for you, but that means that you really just need to get started as soon as possible. And of course, being able to actually understand people when they speak to you is going to be huge for your confidence when you have the opportunity to have those different conversations. And a really great way that we have for you to work on your listening skills is with our real-life native immersion course. So you'll be listening to real English conversations about a variety of topics between me and the other fluency coaches. So you can try that absolutely free with our Power Learning mini course. So if you want to learn more and sign up for that, it's really simple. Click up here or down the description below. And this, of course, leads us to how being a perfectionist can either be a good thing or a bad thing. Now, how do you think that being perfectionist can be a good thing or a bad thing in learning and speaking another language? Why don't you let me know down in the comments below? Now, we can kind of think of perfectionism as a spectrum. On the one end, you have total carelessness, and on the other end, total perfectionism. Now, total carelessness means that you don't have a care in the world about making mistakes. And obviously, this is not a good thing because it replaces your willingness to kind of make progress. But I do believe that it's actually better than the alternative as long as the other person can understand you. Now, total perfectionism, on the other hand, means that you are really obsessed with not making any mistake. And when you do make a mistake, it's a crisis to you. Or maybe even worse than this, you aren't even willing to go and put yourself out there and have a conversation with someone for fear of making these mistakes because you just think that you're not good enough yet. Now, between these two extremes, there's a sweet spot. And that's where you care and pay attention to your performance, but without being overly obsessed with the end result. You need to learn to look at mistakes as a natural part of learning the language, especially if you're a beginner or intermediate learner. And as long as you are continuing to focus more on that progress, on getting better all the time, then you will notice huge changes in your ability to speak confidently. And that's a fact. But maybe you're shy or you're introverted, and this is actually getting in the way much more of your ability to speak English than perfectionism is. If that's the case for you, then I made a video talking all about that subject that I think can help you a lot. So you'll find that by clicking up here or down the description below. Whether it's a grammar slip-up, an awkward choice of words, or just mispronouncing something, the way that you learn from the mistakes is actually noticing that you made them. Now, sometimes it's hard to do this either because you're not aware of it, but many times, just by paying attention to the environment, you'll be able to catch these. For example, maybe someone didn't understand, they didn't really get the point of what you were saying, or maybe you're seeing them making some sort of weird facial expression. So that might mean that you said something in the wrong way, or that they really just didn't catch what you were saying. Now again, when you make a mistake, do not beat yourself up about it. Simply take a mental note, or you could actually write it down, or use a note-taking app on your phone. And then later, when you're home in kind of that quiet environment, then you can reflect on these and you can correct your mistakes. Or something even better you can do is actually getting a teacher who can help you to really focus on what are the mistakes that you're often making and correct these in a safe and constructive environment. So here's an example. Imagine that you're in a crowded bar and you're having a conversation with someone and you couldn't understand what they said either because maybe they used some word that you didn't know or just because you couldn't actually hear them. And you quickly blurt out, you quickly say, "What?" Now, you actually probably know that that's not the most appropriate way to ask someone to repeat themselves, but because of the stress of the moment, it just came out. And that's absolutely okay. Just take a mental note of it, as I said, and then when you get home, you could actually research, what is the actual thing that I should say, or you can actually practice saying this again in the mirror or something like that, or ask your teacher or do a Google search on appropriate alternatives later, such as, sorry, excuse me, pardon, or could you say that again? All right, so you've almost made it to the end of this video, but I quickly want to resume everything that we've learned, the main takeaways from this video. So first off, don't apologize for your English. Remember that confidence beats grammar every time. If you're going to be a perfectionist, then be a good perfectionist. Don't beat yourself up about your mistakes and actually learn to accept your mistakes. And even more importantly than this, be proactive about learning from those mistakes. And now that you've actually made it to the end of this video, I want you to make a promise to me. I want you to never, ever, ever again say sorry for my bad English or any alternative of this. You've worked really hard to get where you are at whatever level you're at now, and you should be proud of all that hard work that you've put in and that you're continuing to put in by watching videos like this, by studying, by putting yourself out there in uncomfortable situations and having conversations in English with other people. It's an awkward and strange experience, so actually enjoy it, enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey, and now it's time to go beyond the classroom and live your English. Ah, yeah. Hi, yeah, what's up? I'm Ethan, your real life English fluency coach, and in today's lesson, we are going to look at 5 exercises that can really help you to improve your clarity and fluency when you speak English. Now, the goal of this isn't necessarily to help you to speak like a native. While for some people that can be important, for most of you out there, it's not really the best goal to have.